Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. The Mountain of Valuables was built by the three ancestral teachers, and it had many restrictions as well. Each inheritor owned a mark of inheritance, which was why they could take an embryo. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to do that. Luo Feng walked on the Mountain of Valuables and looked around. The traces of light were so powerful that they could instantly kill Universe Supreme Masters. However, with the special constraints of the Mountain of Valuables, each embryo was suppressed. Spiritual force weapons. Close combat weapons. Countless special weapons. This is a machine. Luo Feng looked around. There was an oval fortress, which was as large as Universe Boat. This giant fortress had 18 levels of attack units, and the engravings on them were blank, which required users to fill them. There was also a special boat, and the boat was actually a world of manufacturing, which contained lots of conditions for making true treasures. There was another golden embryo, which was Jiemu embryo. It was weak at the beginning, yet it had great potential. When it was cultivated, it could follow the path of the bug race to have a huge army, or to follow the elite path. Either way, it was much better than the Bug Clan Queen. There was also a giant, human-shaped machine that could be used as armor. It could be used as a mech or a puppet. It had different uses depending on how it was reconstructed. The components inside didn't have any engravings, and they could be reconstructed in many ways. In the ancient civilization, there were close combat, distant attacks, automaton, valuables making, and miscellaneous techniques. The former four were the mainstream, while the fifth one was a combination of all special techniques. Each category had many branches. Close combat and distant attacks were extremely complicated. As for the automation category, there were Sea of Machines techniques, original body techniques, and fortress techniques. The embryos of the different techniques were different as well, and there were 72 types of embryos of automation. No wonder automation was so popular in the ancient civilization. Luo Feng looked at all the embryos and he was tempted. This is too powerful. Even if someone is less strong in laws and techniques, he can still kill his enemies with these machines. Unfortunately, I can only choose one. Luo Feng stood at the mountainside and looked at a giant stone blade. It was enormous. Even though it was plugged inside the mountainside, it was as tall as the entire mountain. There was gleaming light around the blade, and the shape was exquisite. There were 3 blade embryos. One of them is broad, one of them is thin, yet this one is my favorite. The more Luo Feng looked at it, the more he fancied it. It looks just like the blood shadow blade, yet it has a larger handle so that I can grab it with both hands. I'll take it. Luo Feng walked to the front, held his breath, and put his hands on the large stone blade. Just as he touched it, a film showed up on the blade, and countless lore engravings started to flow, which were much more complicated than the lore engravings he saw in the iceberg. The entire Mountain of Valuables started to tremble, and the corners started to glow. The engravings were shining along with the film. There was an inheritance mark between the eyebrows of Luo Feng. They were resonating. And then, the films and light all disappeared, and Luo Feng's life mark was branded on the giant blade. This blade embryo might be with me forever, until I reach the top, or until I die. Luo Feng lowered his head and stroked the blade. I'll call it Blood Shadow. It had simple Chinese characters on the blade. He'd used lots of blades as he grew up, but with his power growing, he'd been changing his blades. Now, he had finally found a blade that he was going to use forever. Blood Shadow Blade. Blood Shadow Blade is so powerful that I can't even measure it, thought Luo Feng. I might as well not take the blade out if I don't want to kill my enemies. The blade embryo was the only weapon he got after he became the new generation of Duandong River, and it was an exceptional weapon. It could already crack the space without being driven by any techniques or godly power. Plus, it could already rival the power of a 5th-level top-tier universe master. Even supreme true treasures couldn't be this powerful without being driven. It was a valuable that was superior to supreme true treasures, and there was only one level of engraving on it. Former generations of Duandong River, thought Luo Feng. Even if you despise those supreme true treasures, you can at least put some in the space of inheritance. Other than those valuables embryos, there wasn't a single supreme true treasure. The stones of memories left by former generations of Duandong River had clear records. Each generation of Duandong River only left an embryo. As for other true treasures, other skills, they needed to be fought for by the following generations of Duandong River. After all, the juniors needed to fight to grow, and they couldn't do so if they only depended on the valuables left by the seniors. The silver-armored form of Luo Feng left the space of valuables, and entered the main area of the space of inheritance. He stood in the sky. Come. Luo Feng waved his hands, and a trace of light flew toward him and floated in front of him. It was an octagon token, the control center of Boat of Mausoleum. The former generations of Duandong River didn't leave any machines for me in the space of inheritance. However, this Boat of Mausoleum is a machine. And my Shawu wings are a machine as well. Luo Feng easily controlled the center of the Boat of Mausoleum. Space of Inheritance and Blood Shadow Blade were the most precious objects, followed by Star Tower and Shawu Wing, then followed by Boat of Mausoleum. Shawu Wing and Boat of Mausoleum were both machines. Boat of Mausoleum wasn't very powerful, yet he could control some dangerous components inside. So it was definitely a machine. As for Shawu Wing, it was an original body fighting machine. This kind of machine usually just helped its user. Shawu Wing would only be a mere true treasure if it didn't have an origin. The origin was like an engine, and the godly power of great beings was transformed into terrific energies through the origin. They were let out through the wings. Flame Ice Region. Boat of Mausoleum, floating in the sky, immediately disappeared. A silver-armored and silver-booted man carrying a stone blade appeared. Teacher Primal Chaos City Leader said that both Eastern Emperor Holy Land and Purple Moon Holy Land have great beings hidden here to catch the inheritor. Luo Feng looked around and hid the Boat of Mausoleum and Space of Inheritance. However, I'm not afraid of them now. I hope they leave me no choice but to use Blood Shadow Blade. Luo Feng waved his hands, and a bloody tower showed up. It was Star Tower. Luo Feng went into the tower and flew away. He made the technique Nirvana Renaissance, and it had the power of the 5th level Universe Master with Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. If he used Blood Shadow Blade, which was superior to Supreme True Treasures. Although I can't fight Universe Supreme Masters now, they can't kill me. Luo Feng was confident. Once I become a Universe Master and have more godly power, Luo Feng would be the most terrific Universe Master in the history of Universe Ocean. Universe Masters only had 6 levels before. However, Luo Feng might have been at the 7th, or even the 8th level. How big was the Boat of Mausoleum? A group of super great beings with North True Star Master, as their leader, had been keeping the other party from East Emperor Holy Land under close watch. Not even one dared to let his guard down, even without other various means of detection. They could see the Boat of Mausoleum in the distance with their naked eyes. The Boat of Mausoleum has disappeared. Disappeared. It was here just a moment ago, and the Boat of Mausoleum has suddenly disappeared. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Milky Way Horde leader Luo Feng must have acted. Everyone, be mindful of every single corner. Do not let him get away. North True Star Master and the other 10 Universe Masters were on high alert. From their position, although they could see a big object like the Boat of Mausoleum without any visual aids, Luo Feng was now on board his Crimson Tower, which was extremely small. So small that it was impossible for the human eye to detect it. As for their other detection methods, they had not dared to use any of these to cover any region within the Boat of Mausoleum before. Because they were all afraid of incurring the wrath of that Duandong River. All of you better keep your eyes open. North True Star Master tensed up right away, and started giving orders. You cannot be the least bit careless. The moment anyone discovers any palace-type true treasure, or any flying objects, you have to stop them. Do not ever let Luo Feng escape. Understood. Understood. One by one, the Universe Masters replied. Ancestor has already reminded us countless times. North True Star Master shouted. This matter is of utmost importance. And at domains even further out from the peripheral area, other groups of powers from Purple Moon Holy Land and the First Reincarnation Era are all laying ambush. Everyone wants to be the one to catch hold of that air. So we must be careful not to let the other groups of power gain any advantage over us. North True, we all have supreme true treasures throughout Flame Ice region. None of the other groups of powers are as well equipped as us. How are they going to fight us? All were triggered with the same discovery. The lofty boat of Mausoleum that was suspended in mid-air had suddenly disappeared. Not only East Emperor Holy Land realized this, but one by one, the other groups of powers from Purple Moon Holy Land and First Reincarnation Era, even the various other groups of powers that were all waiting in ambush further away, started to realize what had happened. The various groups of powers that were originally as peaceful as calm waters were, at that moment, all starting to stir with excitement like bubbling water about to reach boiling point. The boat of Mausoleum has disappeared. The air is about to make an appearance. This is our clan's final hope of transcending reincarnation. Catch that air. No matter how great a potential this air has, no matter how big a threat he is. Just like how any great being who wants to grow up needs time, even if this heir has received the inheritance, there is no way his power can improve by leaps and bounds in such a short time. Once Doomsday arrives, all of our clan will be exterminated. In the face of Doomsday, nothing else matters. There is no need to bother about whether we are up against East Emperor Holy Land or Purple Moon Holy Land. Holy Land Universe, so what? Just grab it. This is our final hope. First True Master, Third True Master, Fourth True Master, Fifth True Master, and Sixth True Master of the Divine Eye clan looked at one another. Since the competition for the inheritance began, 2 from their group had been annihilated. Now, there were only 5 True Masters left in the whole Divine Eye clan, and this time around, for the sake of catching that heir, all 5 of them had gathered. However, gathering too many gifted talents in the same place and at the same time could bring devastating results. Having already suffered a great loss, the Divine Eye clan was careful to maintain a low profile this time around. Let's lay low and watch first. We shall just let Purple Moon Holy Land and East Emperor Holy Land battle it out. And the other groups of powers from the First Reincarnation Era. The fight for the heir is not that simple. True. To be able to receive the inheritance from the pulse of Duandong River, that heir must have great survival means. To catch hold of him is not easy. We shall observe the situation first and find the perfect opportunity. Then all 5 of us will act together. With our combined power, we will catch that heir in one swift move. Yes. 5 pairs of eyes were ignited with blazing light. This time, it would be a battle major enough to change their destiny. At one point in time, the entire Flame Ice region was raging like a storm with various groups of powers laying ambush. Among them, the majority did not even know who the heir was. But that did not matter to them, all they wanted was to catch that heir. If Blue Blood Knight is the one appearing, then we will catch Blue Blood Knight. If Milky Way Luo Feng appears, we will catch Milky Way Luo Feng. This was everyone's plan. Luo Feng long knew that a gigantic net was laid to ambush him the moment he made his way out into the outside world. His human race had warned him in advance, and told him to stay inside the boat of Mausoleum for the time being if he did not have the confidence of surviving. But Luo Feng had skills and guts, so he was filled with confidence. Gigantic net or not, I will break through it all. The Crimson Tower transformed into a stream of light and advanced at high speed. The miniature Crimson Tower was so tiny that it could easily escape the naked eye. This, flying palace. I discovered a flying palace. It is that Crimson Tower. It's Luo Feng's. Miwaye Master from East Emperor Holy Land immediately transmitted his sighting to the others. He is heading toward my region now. North True Star Master was greatly delighted and immediately transmitted his reply. Miwaye, I am rushing over now. Great. Miwaye Master also transformed into a streak of light, without further delay, and advanced along the same route to welcome the oncoming tower. North True Star Master manipulated his supreme true treasure, and advanced at a speed that was so fast it exceeded the limit of the universe laws. The acceleration was 1,000 times that of light speed, then increased to 10,000 times, then up to 100,000 times. In a split second, it soared all the way up. And yet Luo Feng merely maintained his speed at 100 times light speed. Miye Master had yet to meet up with Luo Feng. North True Star Master had already arrived. A voice was transmitted to the Crimson Tower right away. Milky Way Horde Leader, how about making a trip to my Holy Land with me? East Emperor Holy Land Ancestor will be most pleased to meet you. Within the control room inside the Crimson Tower, Luo Feng stood with a stone blade on his back as his gaze penetrated through the obstruction posed by the walls of Star Tower to look at the outside world. East Emperor Holy Land. Luo Feng whispered. Truly worthy of being a top power. Still the first to act. That must be North True Star Master. I heard he has been obstructing various other groups within the Boat of Mausoleum for quite some time. North True Star Master. Luo Feng communicated right away via voice transmission. I have some urgent matters to tend to back at the original universe. After I am back from there, I will make my way to East Emperor Holy Land. It won't be too long at all. What do you think of my suggestion? Seems like even to my Holy Land Ancestor, Milky Way Horde Leader is not intending to show due respect, North True Star Master said politely, even though he was sneering on the inside. Return to the original universe. If Luo Feng truly set foot in the original universe, all other parties would not be able to enter. Then it would become impossible to catch him. Is this the way East Emperor Holy Land invites its guest? By forcing the invitation upon them. Luo Feng was still very composed and confident. Humph. Then blame me not. North True Star Master manipulated that gigantic, black, polyhedral sphere and parked it at a spot above the Crimson Tower. Then one of the surfaces of the gigantic black sphere suddenly cracked open to reveal a large, empty hole. An incredibly strong suction force acted and pulled on Star Tower without warning, attempting to forcibly suck Star Tower into the hole. Keep. North True Star Master said, manipulating it to the very best of his abilities. Humph. The Crimson Tower under the attack of the suction force suddenly vanished into thin air. In its place was an even smaller Boat of Mausoleum. A moment prior, when Luo Feng met with the attack of that suction force, he was unwilling to put Star Tower at any risk. Even though Star Tower was a supreme true treasure, and should have been competent enough to ward off such attacks, Star Tower required his godly power to activate it. With the gigantic net that was set outside to besiege him, relying on Star Tower alone might be too tiring. Whereas with an automaton type like the Boat of Mausoleum, things would be much easier. The Boat of Mausoleum had also been remodeled by Duan Dong River. Regardless of what supreme true treasure was used, trying to take it down by force was out of the question. Also, it only required a little consumption of Luo Feng's godly power. Then he could use the various energies from the Boat of Mausoleum to activate it. Everything was simple, yet the power he could execute was strong. The Boat of Mausoleum. North True Star Master looked down and saw a vessel appearing. His expression changed instantly. This was a special Boat of Mausoleum that had undergone Duan Dong River's remodeling, and it was where the Divine Eye Clan's second True Master and seventh True Master had met their ends. Surrender to me. North True Star Master tried his best to make use of the suction force of his supreme true treasure to take the Boat of Mausoleum into captivity. The suction force was useless, whereas the Boat of Mausoleum started to expand with a rumble and grew insanely big. Previously, the Boat of Mausoleum was the size of a fist, but in the blink of an eye, it became a massive vessel around 100 billion kilometers long. And this massive Boat of Mausoleum started to take flight, advancing in a mighty manner, paying no heed and showing no response to the suction power that North True Star Master was executing over it. Not good. North True Star Master was aware that it would be impossible for him to try to consume this Boat of Mausoleum with his suction power. Block him. North True Star Master continued to manipulate the gigantic black sphere, and rammed into the boat of Mausoleum with a thunderous boom. How fast was he flying that black sphere? The boat of Mausoleum was merely maintaining its speed at 100 times of light speed. There was no way it could evade the collision. Like Mars hitting Earth, this gigantic black sphere crashed straight into the boat of Mausoleum. The boat of Mausoleum merely gave a slight tremor. Then the impact of the collision was entirely diminished as it continued to advance in its mighty manner. Can't be stopped. North True Star Master was getting very distressed. This Luo Feng is using his godly power to drive that boat of Mausoleum. How can he be so powerful? The boat of Mausoleum was an automaton type. To activate and drive it, a part of it required godly power. The other part of it depended on the power of the boat of Mausoleum itself. Furthermore, this boat of Mausoleum had been remodeled. Regardless of the aspect, be it defense, strength of impact, flight, etc., it was much more powerful than an ordinary boat of Mausoleum by 10 times, or even 100 times. If an ordinary boat of Mausoleum was considered to be a normal boat, then this vessel that was remodeled by Duandong River himself would be considered a universe planet ship. Naturally, it was on a different level. It was not on the same scale of comparison. North True Star Master, let me stop him. Miwaye Master had now made his way over. Hurry, and trap him. North True Star Master said. Go. A massive purple light immediately sliced across the sky and started to expand. It continuously expanded as it enveloped the boat of Mausoleum from behind. This massive purple light was, in fact, a supreme true treasure in the form of a strange and special web. It was specially designed to restrain and entrap enemies. Bind. Miwaye Master was trying his best to keep the situation under control. Yet regardless of how the purple web tried to bind and restrain, block and obstruct, the boat of Mausoleum continued to advance mightily. The purple web was only a cover over its surface like a decorative layer of cloth. It did not have any influence over the boat of Mausoleum whatsoever. Can't stop him, I can't stop him. Miwaye Master's level of anxiety reached a new high. Then just attack. Even North True Star Master was getting fidgety. The suction force was not working. Resistance was not working either. Neither was the supreme true treasure used to bind and trap enemies. How else could they stop Luo Feng? This boat of Mausoleum can completely block off all forms of godly power. North True Star Master was in great distress now, as he immediately transformed into a dazzling streak of light. This massive, arc-like light viciously struck the boat of Mausoleum, which merely gave a slight tremor in response. Thereafter, as though nothing had happened, it continued to advance mightily. Useless. North True Star Master glared after it. Even material attacks are pointless. Any and every method was futile against the boat of Mausoleum. Attempting to trap it would be asking for the impossible. There was no trace of sentimental attachment displayed by the boat of Mausoleum. It continued to advance at high speed, making its way far into the distance. And in the distance, there was a large crowd of super beings from the Purple Moon Holy Land and the First Reincarnation Era. Ha ha. This boat of Mausoleum is very powerful indeed, said Luo Feng. Maybe I should just drive it like this, recklessly and haphazardly, and barge out of the universe boat. Luo Feng was carefree and at ease. Disregarding all the supreme true treasures and universe supreme masters in his path and moving ahead with such reckless behavior, this feeling was certainly refreshing. It was the charm of an automaton-type true treasure. The massive boat of Mausoleum advanced mightily. It was unstoppable. What should we do, North True? Miwaye Master asked via voice transmission. If we still don't stop him and let him advance further, he will soon go beyond our area of control. In the peripheral region, there is Purple Moon Holy Land, and the group of power from the First Reincarnation Era. Such a large group of super great beings out there. There are even as many as 20 to 30 odd universe supreme beings present. I know. North True was also very anxious. He was aware of the situation. Luo Feng might have been an heir, but the groups of powers from the universe ocean honestly did not fear this heir. Without even considering those from the first reincarnation era, who did not even fear their quickly approaching doomsday, and were capable of doing anything, it was just these two Holy Land universes. With the commands given to them by their two great ancestors, they were naturally even more fearless. This time, East Emperor Holy Land was relying on the quantity of supreme true treasures it had. And it was also relying on the fact that the other groups were not united, and that this was within the innermost control region. There were other reasons, of course, for why other groups of powers were willing to stay on the periphery. Other than their lack of unity and strength, the more important reason was that they did not believe that an heir of the Pulse of Duandong River could be so easily apprehended. At most, if they saw that the situation was unfavorable to them, they would charge forward with brute force. What should we do? What should we do? North True Star Master was anxious and frustrated, racking his brains to thinking of ways to stop Luo Feng, or to trap him. Go. North True Star Master stood within the void space, and with a sudden wave, a gigantic, polyhedral black sphere instantly transformed into a dazzling ray of black light. As it continued flying, the black light ray grew thicker and larger. In terms of physical size, it was bigger than the boat of Mausoleum. Soon after, a loud rumble was heard as the ray of black light crashed straight into the boat of Mausoleum. The boat of Mausoleum trembled, but was not the least bit damaged. In his state of anxiety, North True Star Master's avatar in the Holy Land universe asked East Emperor Ancestor for help right away. Ancestor, Ancestor, said North True Star Master. That Milky Way Horde leader, Luo Feng, is driving the boat of Mausoleum out, but we are unable to stop him. Even our supreme true treasures are useless. What should we do now? East Emperor Ancestor appeared out of nowhere. Can't apprehend him. Can't stop him. No way at all. North True Star Master replied. This boat of Mausoleum is much more powerful than the one we obtained previously. After Duandong River remodeled it, this boat of Mausoleum is extraordinary. No matter what method we try, nabbing, entrapping, bounding, or even soul attacks and material attacks, all means are to no avail. East Emperor Ancestor was frustrated, too. What could be done? This time around, he had sent out a team of their top 10 best 6th-tier universe masters to support North True. And he even gave North True Star Master several supreme true treasures. Even if the enemy had a supreme true treasure palace, by right, North True Star Master should be able to entrap him without much difficulty. Duandong River's reputation is well earned. East Emperor Ancestor frowned. You have been following Milky Way Horde leader Luo Feng, he shouted. Make sure you have him in sight at all times. This time, it is not only us. That purple moon is also after him, especially the lunatics from the first reincarnation era, who are willing to do anything. You should make sure you follow him close enough and wait for your chance to strike. Once the perfect opportunity arrives, snatch it from Luo Feng. What if I fail to snatch it away? North True Star Master asked, very worried. What a joke. More than half of the universe supreme masters from the first reincarnation era, a handful of universe supreme masters from the second reincarnation era, and probably one or two universe supreme masters from the primal universe had turned up to lay ambush. This area alone had 20 to 30 universe supreme masters, not to mention the number of universe masters, which was similar to that of the universe supreme masters. It was chaotic to a certain degree, and regardless of how formidable he was, it worried North True Star Master that he might not be able to catch hold of Luo Feng. What if you fail to snatch it? East Emperor Ancestor hesitated for a while, then gave his orders. You will do this. After he had finished listening to East Emperor Ancestor's orders, North True Star Master was in great shock. This is too, North True Star Master was in disbelief. Just do as I say, East Emperor Ancestor instructed. Yes, North True Star Master replied deferentially. But in his heart, he was mumbling his complaints as he thought to himself, Luo Feng is certainly one lucky fellow. Flame Ice region, because it was where an heir of the pulse of the Duandong River from the ancient civilization emerged, therefore it became the region where a great number of great beings from the universe ocean gathered. It's the boat of Mausoleum. The heir is driving the boat of Mausoleum out now. East Emperor Holy Land did not manage to catch or stop it. Our chance is here. Action time. In the external domain, Purple Moon Holy Land alone was not enough to fully control the situation, and the various groups of powers from the first reincarnation era was so anxious that they could not hold back at all. One by one, the universe supreme masters were all launching attacks right away. Up in mid-air, streams of powerful yet terrifying attacks were launched so extensively that they could easily contort and shatter an entire space. There were some who tried in vain to swallow the boat of Mausoleum, and there were some who directly threw attacks to create a commotion. The more chaotic it was, the higher chances the weaker ones had to fish in troubled waters. The boat of Mausoleum vibrated and trembled repeatedly. Roar! A gigantic beast that was longer than 1 light year came roaring by. Its huge, scaly wings were outspread, and its mouth opened to reveal a bottomless black hole. In one gulp, it devoured the boat of Mausoleum. Almost instantly, a total of 9 supreme true treasures were crashing and ramming into that gigantic beast, causing it to tremble and quiver, then collapse and disintegrate. Loathsome. From afar, Divine Eye Clan's first true master, third true master, fourth true master, fifth true master, and sixth true master looked furious. Earlier, they had waited for the right opportunity to strike, and when they saw how the boat of Mausoleum was seemingly losing control over its ability of flight upon being continuously attached by various parties, they took immediate action, forming Eternal True God Beast and devouring the boat of Mausoleum in one mouthful. You idiots from Divine Eye Clan! Are you thinking of seizing the heir of the pulse of Duandong River? In your dreams. A huge skeleton seated on a faraway white throne let out a hoarse shout. My Skeleton Clan had our eyes on you all long ago. Skeleton Clan. The 5 true masters of Divine Eye Clan got even more furious. The Divine Eye Clan from the first reincarnation era and the Skeleton Clan were formidable clans. When they were still living in the primal universe, the Skeleton Clan was once rampant throughout the universe, defeating other clans and groups of powers one after another. Their arrogance was beyond words, but after the emergence of the Divine Eye Clan, they quickly suppressed the Skeleton Clan. Since then, the Skeleton Clan had been kept under suppression. The 2 clans had fought one another for almost 3 reincarnation eras. Previously, when the 7 true masters had joined forces, their concerted efforts had brought about complete suppression of Skeleton Clan, but now, with 2 fewer true masters, when the 2 clans faced one another in battles, it was virtually effortless for the Skeleton Clan. What a bunch of lunatics! Being devoured in one mouthful by that gigantic beast earlier had certainly dealt Luo Feng a good shock. He had been prepared to manipulate the boat of Mausoleum into high acceleration to blast the beast into bits and pieces, but at that moment, the other universe supreme masters had rained attacks on the beast, causing it to break and fall apart. Within just 10 seconds, 16 supreme true treasures were attacking me. Luo Feng was also thunderstruck while in the control hall of the boat of Mausoleum. He had expected to find himself within an inescapable dragnet, yet it was still a shock to fall within one. After all, prior to these attacks, the universe supreme masters were still quite a distance away from him, and under normal circumstances, universe supreme masters would not stoop so low as to fight against those who were below them in terms of social status. The only time this happened was when Virtual Real Devil God wanted to exterminate him, but his attacks had been warded off when Double Face Ancestral God intervened. Virtual Real Devil God had not looked upon Luo Feng as a worthy opponent in the first place. To Virtual Real Devil God, dealing with Luo Feng was a minor matter, or probably just a matter of convenience. This time, it was different. More than half of the universe supreme masters from the first reincarnation era, and other universe supreme masters, had all made him their target, and all of them were going crazy trying to seize him. Roar! All kinds of noises resounded. Be it palace type supreme true treasure, or spiritual force weapon type supreme true treasure, or close combat type supreme true treasure, one after another, they all fell onto the boat of Mausoleum. This was a great eye-opener of Luo Feng. All the supreme true treasures of the entire universe ocean added up was, in fact, quite a sorry amount. Normally, supreme true treasures were owned by universe supreme masters, and that very day, almost 1/3 of the total number of universe supreme masters were gathered at the same place, trying to seize Luo Feng. It's not working out. I cannot move this boat of mausoleum at all. There isn't even a scratch to be found on the boat of mausoleum, much less a crack. It continues flying ahead. We cannot even get it to stop. All the universe supreme masters first entered a state of frenzy. Soon, the realization dawned upon them of how terrifying the boat of mausoleum was. Even the major clans, who initially wreaked havoc on purpose, because they were afraid the other groups of powers would successfully seize the air, did not dare to create more trouble. Similar to how the gigantic beast by Divine Eye clan had been attacked until it crumbled the moment it was formed, various groups now seemed to have a tacit understanding that no one should start creating trouble. Suddenly, there was a surge of powerful attacks. I don't believe that with so many great beings around, a single boat of mausoleum cannot be taken down. Now that the skeleton clan is not creating any more trouble, we should act quickly. There was a frightening outburst of attacks. 3 lofty, huge golden fingers appeared out of thin air and immediately grabbed onto the boat of mausoleum, but to no avail. The boat of mausoleum continued to fly ahead, as it forcibly pulled the 3 huge golden fingers along with it. The gigantic beast of the Divine Eye clan appeared once again to bite the boat of mausoleum. Yet the boat of mausoleum continued to fly ahead. The driving force of flight was so powerful that it could force the gigantic beast to fly along with it, and as it flew, it was continuously expanding at the same time. That very moment, the universe supreme masters from various groups of powers were getting anxious, and everyone started attacking in their attempt to break apart that beast. How could the driving force of flight of that boat of mausoleum be so powerful? Even for a palace-type supreme true treasure, while it can block off attacks from various parties, the most it could do while warding off attacks would be to remain unmoving at its spot. But this boat of mausoleum is able to continue flying. Its flying power is even more powerful than the total binding force of 10 supreme true treasures put together. Joint efforts were futile. It could not be stopped. The various groups were aware. Luo Feng had no difficulty flying ahead, until he was out of the universe boat and back into the primal universe. Within the boat of mausoleum, Luo Feng was exceptionally at ease. He was able to bring all the pinnacle existences of the universe ocean to their wits' end. Such a sense of satisfaction was simply unbeatable. A voice transmission was directed to the boat of mausoleum via godly power. Luo Feng, who was in control of the boat of mausoleum, obviously knew. I am North True Star Master representing East Emperor Ancestor, and I would like to suggest a deal. North True Star Master transmitted his voice message. A deal. East Emperor Ancestor. Thoughts sprang up in his mind. In a faraway corner of Flame Ice region. Faintly, time and space were contorted. This contorted space concealed a green mountain. The pulse of Duandong River. Truly worthy of his reputation. Sitting mountain guest looked afar with a smile. The previous Duandong River remodeled the boat of mausoleum to make it so powerful. Seems like I was overly worried. I would really love to take a look at the inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River. There should be much information on how the pulse of his Duandong River went about refining treasures. After all, this was one of the pinnacle inheritances. It was just that, under the willpower of the primal universe, even for this disciple of mine, he may not know the truly profound part of the pulse of Duandong River. Sitting mountain guest gently shook his head. Soon after, this contorted space and time resumed normality. Sitting mountain guest had secretly left the scene. This video will end here.